Hello and welcome to the Big Reviewski with Chicago Town Pizza. My name is Eoghan, and on today's show we are joined by officially the world's sexiest man. And also Paul Rudd will be here too. But first, on to that sexy man. It is, of course, Rory Cash. And Rory, how are you?
I'm good. A lot of people have been calling for a recall of that vote. They want proof of how the title came to be. But listen, this is a democracy, and the people have spoken. Apparently,
Yeah, they say there's bags of votes lying in count centres all around the world, and they want to see the evidence, please, that Paul Rudd is officially the sexiest man. Do you know what else is actually really, really sexy?
you're gonna say pizza.
I am, yeah. It's sexy free pizza. All you have to do to be in with the chance of winning some of those lovely goodies is head over to the Big Reviewski Twitter account and enter our competition there. Now, though, it's time to get on with the show. And Rory, I know in your line of work, you obviously watch a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows. You stream a lot of streamable things. But would you have many kind of streaming services?
Yeah, the same as everyone else in Ireland. Netflix, Disney Plus, now Apple, Prime, Hulu. No, we don't have Hulu here. Hey You, that's another one. YouTube, probably. Yeah, lots of streamings. Yeah,
Yeah, lots of streamings. There's loads out there, but you can never really have enough. And that's why people, especially here in Ireland, will be delighted to hear that a brand new streaming service has been released and is pretty easy to access as well. It is, of course, Peacock, which came from. But it was originally released in the States last year during lockdown and obviously did phenomenally well because people were like, I'm stuck in my house. I need more things to watch. I need more things to watch. So this obviously found the perfect audience last year. It's finally being released in Ireland this week. And it basically has all the properties owned by NBC and Universal. So you've got loads of amazing TV shows and movies coming to this brand new service. Now, in terms of accessing here in Ireland, if you have a Sky account or if you have a Now Entertainment Pass, then you will be getting this service absolutely free. It's already added to there, so you should be seeing loads of brand new options in order for you to access Peacock there as well. Now, there's some shows... Peacock again. There are some shows which I absolutely cannot wait to watch in these. You're going to have the return of one of the favourites. Friday Night Lights is on there. 30 Rock, one of the greatest comedies ever made, and something that I am genuinely, unbelievably excited about. Quantum Leap is going to be available there as well as lots of incredible films, such as Oscar-winning movies like Scent of a Woman. Hoo-ah! Thanks, Al. Sexy thrillers like Out of Sight. I know you're particularly excited about that one, Rory, yeah?
yeah, Sexy thrillers is my bag. I'm pretty famous for it.
Very well, you keep telling people.
Yeah.
And last but not least, there's also, again, like a Brad Pitt film, one of the most bonkers Brad
You got
I
this.
will come
You
back.
got this.
I
One of
got
the
this.
most bonkers.
He is so sexy. I can't say his name properly. It's Brad Pitt's one of his most bonkers films. It is, of course, Meet Joe Black, which is just so bad for so many amazing reasons. But you should definitely watch it out whenever you do get a chance to check out Peacock. So, Rory, will you be checking out Peacock when it is added to Now and Sky?
Not to spoil anything, but later in this show, during a very famous segment of the Big Reviewski, this is gonna rear its peacock head again. So, yeah. I've already been perusing and browsing and favoriting and bookmarking. Yes, that's my weekend filled/ruined.
Amazing. Okay, so Peacock now added to Sky and now in Ireland. Enjoy. Coming to Irish cinemas this week are two absolutely massive releases. The first one stars our big guest who's coming up later on the show. It is, of course, Rory, Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah, so it's been a while. If you can pretend the 2016 all-female version didn't happen since we've had a Ghostbusters movie. I think it was 89 was the official sequel. And this one is definitely pretending the 2016 one didn't happen. It's directed by Jason Reitman, who is the son of Ivan Reitman, who directed the first two Ghostbusters movies. And it's got Carrie Coon and Paul Rudd and what feels like half the cast of Stranger Things, even though that's not actually the case, as the younger members. They head out to the middle of nowhere in a small town in America, finding out that they've been left a home in the will by one of the original Ghostbusters, and discovering why he kind of isolated himself in the middle of nowhere. They come across how do I do this without spoilers? They come across a plot that is linked directly to the original in some very interesting ways. I enjoyed this quite a bit whenever Paul Rudd was on screen, whenever Carrie Coon was on screen, and whenever the film tried to do its own thing. I enjoyed it slightly less when it was really bowing at the altar of the original Ghostbusters. It's a lot of like nods and winks and homages and references and stuff. And I wish it had just kind of stuck it with its guns and just stayed true to what it should have been, which was its own unique original thing. Having said that, if you're a fan of Ghostbusters, you'll absolutely enjoy it. I think there's some like naysayers who are like, yeah, it's not the same. It's like, yeah, we know it's not the same because Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and all that cast and Sigourney Weaver, like that was zeitgeisty 80s stuff. Like you cannot replicate that. And the problem is with this film, when it tries to replicate that, that's when it's at its worst. But like I said, if you can forgive it for that and enjoy the original elements that it has, I think you'll still enjoy it. Yes, it's still pretty funny, and it's got a good weird plot at the middle of it, which I enjoyed.
One of the things I'm most nervous about whenever I go into any Ghostbusters film is whether Vigo the Carpathian is going to show up. Obviously, the big terrifying bad guy from the second film. Because whenever I was a kid and sharing a bunk bed with my younger brother Lorcan, like sharing, like I was top and he was down there and stuff. But at the bottom of the bunk bed, hanging over the edge, were our dressing gowns, and they formed the same kind of silhouette as Vigo the Carpathian's head. And I'd say roughly for about like 6-7 years I didn't get any sleep because I was terrified he was coming to attack me. So I don't know whether he turns up in this one. I don't know whether that would be a spoiler or not, but I'll still try and muster up the courage to go and see Ghostbusters Afterlife anyway.
Or at the very least, clean your room.
Yeah.
So there isn't shapes of painting ghosts hanging around the place.
You're not my real mom, you shut up. Now, you mentioned in Ghostbusters Afterlife that somebody leaves somebody else a will, and that's a very big connection to our next film, King Richard. Huh?
That is both impressive and what's the word? I hate
rubbish.
You. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just yikes. So Will Smith plays the father of Venus and Serena Williams in King Richard. I mentioned this to you, I think, off camera because we know each other in IRL.
Close friends.
And I said to you, this is the kind of biopic that we've seen a million times before, but it's like the best version of it. You know when someone makes you like a meal you've had, like someone's like, I'll make you, I don't know, like a burger and chips, but like for some reason this burger is, you've had burgers before, but for some reason this burger is exactly right. All the elements in it are done to perfection, and everyone involved in it has really put the work in. So it's kind of like that. Like it's like comfort food viewing. Will Smith's fantastic in it. He's definitely going to get an Oscar nomination. I'm not a sports person. I'm not a sportser. I don't like sportsing, but tennis is quite cinematic, as it turns out. Just because it lends itself really well to, cinematography and editing and just the speed of it and the power of it and everything involved in it. There's a lot to like. Like, there will be a lot of questions. Like, I was asking myself, I was like, why is the first film about Venus and Serena about their dad and not about Venus and Serena? But I think it does raise some interesting points, especially as a parallel with Britney Spears and her dad, and how allegedly toxic relationships between parents and kids and how they can send them into the world of fame and fortune can go wrong, and how it can go right, depending on who you ask or who's telling the story. So there is a lot to read into. But even if you don't want to go that deep in it, it is just a great performance in the middle of a very interesting story. And I liked it way more than I thought I was gonna.
Brilliant. No, I absolutely cannot wait to see this. And even hearing you as a non-sportsing person loving it this much, because like Venus and Serena Williams, two of the greatest athletes to ever have lived, especially Serena Williams, just incredible story. And then adding Will Smith into the mix to tell this story as well, especially with all the plaudits that are inevitably going to come this way. That's going to be a real cinematic treat as well. So King Richard and Ghostbusters Afterlife out in Irish cinemas this week. Now, just a few days ago, you remember last week we were talking about Disney Plus Day, the brand new favorite holiday that everybody absolutely loves. They announced so many amazing new shows and movies, and they brought back a lot of classics to Disney Plus as well. And they pretty much, there was an amazing Oprah meme going around where it was like, you get a logo, you get a logo, you get a logo. Everything had a logo for every single thing that they've got planned for the next few years. But we have picked out some highlights from that for our kind of favorite trailer of the week, because they keep expanding the Marvel Cinematic Universe, both in the cinema and also on the small screen as well. So 3 ones that we wanted to take a quick sneak peek at were She-Hulk, which is coming later in 2022. It stars Tatiana Maslany as Jennifer Walters. So people may not know the name, but it is a very funny wee teaser, and she is essentially, she's Bruce Banner's cousin. So we are going to be seeing Mark Ruffalo popping up as the big green giant in this as well. And also Tim Roth is going to be back playing Abomination as well. So She-Hulk is going to be coming up later on next year. The second one that we want to have a sneak peek at is Miss Marvel. Now, this seems to be more of a comedy show skewing towards a younger generation as well. It's introducing the character of Kamala Khan, and she's played by Iman Vellani to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it's all about a young girl who's obsessed with the Avengers, but especially Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel. And it's not fair, because she's obsessed with them, and then she gets imbued with her own powers as well. Like, we're obsessed with those characters as well. None of us have any superpowers, but that series will also be coming next year as well. Miss Marvel, but possibly the most interesting one, and again, these are only very, very short teasers, so it's hard to get a real sense of them, is Moon Knight. And they've gone with a really high profile lead in this one, Oscar Isaac, playing Moon Knight, a man called Mark Spector. He was a former soldier who has dissociative identity disorder, and one of those identities that he has contained with him just happens to be a moon god, who obviously gives him loads of powers as well. So that one seems quite, I don't know, do you remember Split from a couple of years back as well, the M. Night Shyamalan film? It feels like Oscar Isaac is going to have a lot of fun playing all of these different types of characters as well. Now, Roy, I did pick out one particular TV show for you as well. There isn't any footage available for it, though I know you are going to be particularly excited about it. It is Agatha, House of Harkness, and that's one of the ones that got its own logo. So looking forward to that one.
Yeah. Like Catherine Hahn, she really, like after WandaVision, I think everyone, she finally got the recognition that she deserved, and that certain fans of hers have been giving her for years anyway. So yeah, her getting her own show it doesn't just make sense. I'm sure Disney were like, oh my God. Oh my God. But you know what else it also means? It could mean that Owen Wilson as Mobius M. Mobius could eventually be getting his own spin-off show, which I know is something you'd be very, just him, half an hour episodes just on a jet ski, just top to tail. That's the whole show. And I know a Mr. Owen Doherty who would just
give the fans what they want. Owen Wilson on a jet ski. Yes, please. So those are some of our highlights from Disney Plus Day, the perfect little Marvel 3-in-1 there. Now, though, it's time for new releases on the small screen. The first of our small screen releases this week is a brand new fantasy drama coming to Amazon Prime. It is The Wheel of Time. And Rory, like, getting invested in a new fantasy drama, that's a big commitment, isn't it?
It can be, and I'll tell you two reasons why. One is I think we're all still a little bit heartbroken over how Game of Thrones ended. We're all a little bit gun shy to want to commit to another long-term relationship. And the other thing is, we see all the time with Netflix when they're like, guys, Shadow and Bone, or this something Chronicles or blah blah blah, and they give it a big push, and then the show comes out, and then it's like it's cancelled after one season. You're like, why do I bother? So with Wheel of Time, this very much is in the mold of, well, listen, next year we've got Lord of the Rings, so that's going to really be the next Game of Thrones. On aside from the actual next Game of Thrones, which is also underway next year, but for now, this is the one to watch if you're looking for something fantasy. And Prime Video have already started filming season 2. So we know there's more to come after this season. They must have a lot of confidence in this first season if they're already like shunting people out on production for the second season. It's based around a witch who's played by Rosamund Pike, who you should know from Gone Girl and lots of other great stuff. And she takes 5 young potentials with her on a journey around the world, this magical, fantastical kingdom, because she's gotten word that one of these 5 will release this power. They've been imbued with a magnificent power that will either save or completely destroy the world as we know it. So it's up to her to kind of help them harness it, but she's not sure which one it is, and she's not sure when the person reveals themselves as having the power, it'll end up using it for good and bad. So that's kind of up to her to help them find the right road. So there's lots of different aspects that you might go, that's a bit like that bit from that and that bit from that. But this book has actually been massively popular for a very long time. So there's a good chance the shows you're thinking it's reminding you of actually just borrowed from this book. So the stuff that we've seen looks very impressive, looks grand and epic in scale. It looks like they put some money behind it. And if you are that little bit gun shy after Game of Thrones and you are thinking maybe I'll just wait for HBO to do the next one, or Lord of the Rings in 2022, we've got some time to kill. We've got a year. It's Christmas. It's cold out. Wheel of Time. Way to go.
I also love the fact that it stars excellent Irish actor Michael McElhatton as well. He's always excellent in everything he pops up. And today, I love the fact that we're getting repeated usage out of the word imbue. There's so many people imbued with so many powers. Is anybody imbued with powers in our next one? I don't know, Cowboy Bebop?
Kind of like they're imbued with guns that are imbued with bullets. Does that? Yeah. That works, right?
That works.
So this is Netflix's live action remake of the hit, I can never remember if it's anime or manga, one of those shows that was from the 80s and 90s that everyone absolutely loved and I have absolutely not seen. So I think if you've seen the original, this is how I've understood it. So I've watched the first 2 episodes and I thought it was very Tarantino-y. Tarantino doing like a live action cartoon version of Blade Runner is the best description I can give of it. It's very violent, it's very over the top, it's very colourful. The characters are like at 110% all the time. But I haven't seen the original, so I have nothing to compare it to. Apparently, if you've seen the original, this is kind of disappointing. So I don't know. If you love the original, maybe just rewatch that, because I believe it's also still on Netflix. But if you haven't and you're looking for something, I found it very entertaining. Admittedly, I've only watched the first few episodes because time is finite and there's so many things to watch.
To be fair to Cowboy Bebop, one of the trailers that Netflix released for it was way more entertaining and imaginative than like other full shows that have been released as well. So if they're putting that much effort into the trailer for it, you would hope that the main show would be imbued with the same kind of creative input as well. Our third choice for at-home viewing this week is Tick, Tick, Boom. And I know we had Will Smith on the show already in King Richard, but I genuinely, when I heard the title of this, I was like, is this something to do with like Fresh Prince and Boom Shake the Room? But no, it is absolutely, disappointingly in my eyes, nothing to do with that story.
Truly showing your age with your lyrical awareness and knowledge there, but I appreciate it.
My daddy told me to say it.
Did he? No, this is the biopic of a very famous musical lyricist, like playwright. He's the guy who wrote Rent, which was still one of the most well-known kind of cultural, iconic, modern touchstones of stage productions. So it's the life story of him and how he came to create it, and the writer's block he was forced into, kind of breaking his way out of. In this, he's played by Andrew Garfield, and he's a front runner now because of this. So we've got two this week. We've got Will and we've Andrew, another front runner for Best Actor Oscar nomination. So this year's, normally every year, it's the Best Actress race that is so interesting, and it's the Best Actor one. You're just like, ugh, oh, is it Anthony Hopkins again? Great. But this year, it does seem to be genuinely an interesting mix of potential nominees, so I am curious to see how this plays out. But Lin-Manuel Miranda, who seems to have his finger in anything musical these days, is also involved in this. So if you love Rent, the musical, and you're interested in its history, this is a good watch. If you love musicals in general, same. And if you love Andrew Garfield, like, same again. So there's lots of audiences being catered to here. And if you love musicals, this film is imbued with lots of musical numbers. So
job done. Speaking of audiences being catered to, this final selection of a show that's being released this week is literally the entire world sat down to watch this last year. It's the sequel series to Tiger King, Joe Exotic, and like, are these people even real? Is America a real place? I guess we're going to find out in the second series of Tiger King. They're back, basically, all of them.
Yeah, so this gave me a little bit of PTSD because the first season of Tiger King I associate pretty hard with the start of lockdown. I think everyone does. It was like we all watched it because it actually was just like bonkers, like documentary stuff, the kind of stuff you just don't normally see in a documentary, and B, because we were all forced indoors and had nothing else to do. So it's, in an optimistic sense, it's like that's how it began, and hopefully this is how it's starting to end. This one only has 5 episodes though, so there's a lot less story to tell, and it is equally some of the hanging threads from the first season, like with a bit more to do with Carol Baskin's partner, who did he disappear or was he found murdered, or and then there's actually more to do with the fallout of how the first season impacted all the stars of the people who were in it. Like, they've all become super rich and famous off the back of it, and Joe Exotic is still in prison, and how Donald Trump, as a last-ditch attempt at popularity, kind of offered to get him out of prison, but then that didn't really materialize either. So there's still lots of stories to mine, and all 5 episodes are dropped on Netflix this week.
There you go. Like, everybody, even though they'd be like, do I really want to watch that? And as you say, kind of live through their PTSD. What's that? Post-Tiger stress disorder is the official title for it anyway. But you just know people are going to sit down, especially if it is only 5 episodes, and probably binge through it anyway. So loads to choose from in terms of what you can watch at home this week. But now it's time for, I know, Rory, you mentioned it earlier on in the show, and I'm intrigued as to what you've chosen for it. It is time for Pizza and a Movie. So if you love pizzas and you love movies, then you've come to the right place, because obviously you got your Chicago Town pizza and you have 2 movies recommended by myself and Rory. Now, last week you tied your choice in with Disney Plus Day, and you chose Enchanted, which is such a class film, and I watched it over the weekend, so thank you for the recommendation. I went for the Big Reviewski, which I didn't watch again. But
you called it the Big Reviewski.
I called it the Big Reviewski. That's how much the show has ingrained. I can't believe I called one of the greatest films of all time, The Big Lebowski, the Big Reviewski. It's on the brain, basically. Listen, it's easy to mix them up. You love bowling. I love bowling. We all love bowling.
It's Brad Pitt's fault.
He's just so goddamn sexy. So the Big Lebowski, I didn't watch it over the weekend, but I did give it my vote, and thankfully, if we can get our drum roll, please, that would be much appreciated. We can reveal now that the dude and his friends took home the victory, much like their amazing bowling team, with a victory of 54% to 46%. So it was pretty tight. But anything to say to that, Rory? Were you surprised by that outcome?
I will say that this one I was curious about. So I checked the results when we were about halfway through the period, and Enchanted was winning 52 to 48. And then I checked an hour later, and it was 50-50, and I was like, I can't do this. It was actually, I was just checking to see how it was going, and I was like, no, I'm just gonna let it play out. It's a decent victory. I'm glad the Big Reviewski won.
Yeah, and again, don't forget you can subscribe to the Big Reviewski as well here, wherever you get your podcasts, and also on YouTube as well. But, Rory, first of all, this week's choice for Pizza in a Movie, what have you gone for? Because you hinted at, are you going for that Peacock thing again?
What?
Peacock.
I'm gonna stop saying the name of that thing because it's really disrupting our recording session. So I've gone for a movie that has been added via that brand new streaming service, and it will be available on Now this week. It's not available on any other streaming service as far as I can tell. It's Children of Men, the fantastic apocalyptic drama thriller starring Clive Owen in a world where people just can't have children anymore, and he is assigned to protect a pregnant woman and get her to a safe zone. It is such a fantastic thriller, one of the best kind of apocalyptic, like real world, gritty, near future apocalyptic movies I've ever seen. I will admit it's a bit of a bummer, it's a bit of a hard watch, but just the man Alfonso Cuarón, who directed it, he does some just bravura sequences where the camera's just all over the place. It's imbued with brilliant cinematography, and I absolutely love it.
I didn't understand most of what you said, but I heard Children of Men, and that's a great shout. So it is. For my choice for Pizza in a Movie, I'm going to do something that I've never done before, because obviously we always pick recommendations that we go, listen, we love this film, you should go and check it out as well. But I'm actually going to pick a film that I've never seen before. So this is a recommendation for myself as well. And I picked it for two reasons. One, the star of the film, Danny DeVito, celebrates his 77th birthday this week. So happy birthday, Danny. So I wanted to mark that occasion in some way. And two, listen, it's Christmas time. It just is now. So I've picked a Danny DeVito Christmas film, which is Deck the Halls. So it's available to watch on Netflix and Amazon. And I thought, oh, that's a perfect choice. It's the perfect combo of those two things. I can't wait to see it. And then I just went and checked to see what the score was, like something like Rotten Tomatoes, and it's at 6%, which is possibly one of the lowest rated films I've ever seen on Rotten Tomatoes. So I'm actually, even more excited about seeing it now. So I don't know if you've seen it, if you love the film, if you hate the film, but I will be watching Deck the Halls this week to see if my choice was any good.
I have seen it, and I think if Children of Men loses, we can officially claim this whole section is corrupt.
Okay, that's quite the statement. Okay, fair enough. So looking forward to seeing what the results of Pizza in a Movie will be this week. Like, how can a Christmas film be bad? Anyway, we'll find out very soon. Okay, well, that pretty much wraps us up for the Big Reviewski this week's episode. Thank you as ever to officially the second sexiest man, Rory Cashin.
I'll take it.
Thank you, thank you to our friends at Chicago Town Pizza. I know we mentioned some Marvel sneak peeks earlier on the show. Coming up on next week's show, any fan of the Avengers, we're going to have Jeremy Renner, of course, who plays Hawkeye, along with his Hawkeye co-star Haley Steinfeld on the show. But last but not least, Rory, for our big star bye-bye, it is, of course, Paul Rudd.
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to get the Irish exclusive interview with Paul Rudd ahead of the release of Ghostbusters Afterlife. I also interviewed half of those, are they or aren't they, members of Stranger Things kids. All those interviews are up on Joe's YouTube channel right now. We actually had a tough time picking out just one highlight from Rudd's chat for this section, because he can really dish up the nuggets when you're just like, oh, that's brilliant, that's so funny, oh, look, he's so charming, and it was just, how do we choose? So we went with the one we thought most people would be happy about hearing, and it's his startling idea for a sequel to The 40-Year-Old Virgin. It's not what I would have done, but I'm not a comedic genius like him. I'm just unlike him, I'm just the second sexiest man in the world, so I bow to his to his idea on this, and if Hollywood does pick it up, I am 100% on board for going to see it.
Oh man, great question. Because I am kind of curious about what the story is with all three of those now. Like the 40-year-old virgin would be in his mid 50s now, and would he be tearing it up? Like would he go the opposite way? Would he just be hitting
55-year-old stud?
Yeah, like in a really skeevy way, like the guy you don't want to talk to.
And the gang have to pull him back the other way. It's like,
kind of have. Isn't that the deal with the sequel? You kind of have to go the opposite. You have to just go do a 180. Yeah. So Andy, Steve Carell's character, is a Lothario and just a piece of trash. Just that'd be an interesting choice. Or I Love You, Man. I'd like to see what happens to Jason Segel's character. Where does Sydney go? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was fun to do. So I'd be down with knowing what happened there.